I'm Scott Munn along with Tug Cowart at the Warrior Alliance Network studios. Today on the Spotlight, we'll talk with a retired 30-year U.S. Army colonel who is truly warrior committed. John Thompson helps veterans find success after service both as a board member with the Warrior Alliance and as Director of Risk Management at Cox Enterprises. Colonel John Thompson commanded at every level of the Army, from company to brigade, and his final command was the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, a.k.a. the Night Stalkers. Thompson's strategic assignments include Joint Special Operations Command, the Pentagon, U.S. Forces Afghanistan, and Defense Coordinating Officer at FEMA Region 4. He's a combat veteran of Operations Desert Shield, Storm, Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, and several classified operations. Thompson is a graduate of the University of North Georgia and holds a master's in strategic studies from the U.S. Army War College. Tug and I are so honored to have you here today. John Thompson, welcome to the Warrior Alliance Network.
Thank you very much, Scott and Tug. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Go Nighthawks, huh?
That's right. It's a different name now. So it wasn't Nighthawks back in my days. It was the Saints.
Yeah.
But the new president up there is doing great things, and just very proud of the school and
Yes, sir.
how they're performing.
Yeah, terrific campus up there in Dahlonega, Georgia, UNG. You joined the Army in the late 80s, retired after 30 years of serving and commanding a variety of conventional and special operations assignments. What compelled you to do this for 30 years?
Yeah, great question. You know, they're usually gates or time periods that people go through the military and say, okay, I'm going to get out early, going to get out mid, going to get out late. And, you know, 9/11 obviously happened during my time frame. It was around my 12, 13-year mark. I was just finishing up a school out in Fort Leavenworth, and it was a game changer, as it was for, you know, a lot of people in uniform and a lot of people yet to be in uniform. And I knew that that was going to be a pivotal time in our country's history, and I obviously didn't want to so-called quit the team then. So I was compelled to stay in out of my desire to continue to serve those you know, a great country. And, you know, after that, one thing led to another. Got to work in some phenomenal units with some phenomenal people. And, you know, I look back over my shoulder, and it's 30 years have gone by.
It goes by real quick, doesn't it?
Another inspiration I know from talking to you before the show, just to start your career, had to have been your father. And you were telling me before the show that you lost your father in Vietnam. Talk about him a little bit.
I did. Bo Thompson, another North Georgia grad, as well as my mom. Started out very early in Vietnam in the early days. 63 and 64 was his first tour. His next tour, 66 and 67 with the 1st Cav Division. And he wrote me a letter on my second birthday describing really, you know, what his thoughts were about my responsibilities as a man, not realizing that, you know, I wouldn't, you know, take and comprehend that letter right now, but there was something in the back of his mind that probably told him he wasn't going to be able to make it home during this second tour, because Vietnam was pretty hot and heavy during that time frame. So my grandmother gave me that letter when I was 17 years old, about to graduate high school. Not to say that I was directionless, but I certainly didn't have a focus as to what I wanted to do after high school. The letter was very impactful, but still I was a 17, 18-year-old young man. I mean, how many priorities do you have as a 17, 18-year-old young man? So Mom convinced me to try this little school up in Dahlonega, Georgia, that they went to, and you know,
rest is history.
Rest is history.
Worked
yeah.
out pretty good.
Yeah,
you have a great career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Met my wife there at North Georgia in 37 plus years. You know,
there you go.
She lets me hang around still.
I always say a long marriage is the mark of success, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Truly.
physically would not be sitting amongst you today had I not gotten married to that little lady.
Yeah, God bless her. We certainly appreciate all that she's, and Scott brings that up a lot too, that not all that serve wear a uniform. And I think that's certainly the truth. And he's opened my eyes to that, because I knew it, I'd seen it, but it never until he put it that way, it never really resonated to me. And now it does, very much so. Your career, you went with the initial Gulf War, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. I want to talk about your military experience as a colonel in the 160th Special Ops Aviation Regiment. Tell me all about that. Or is there anything you can't tell me? That's Spec Ops. It gets a little dicey.
No, there is. That was obviously the pinnacle of my operational career. Being at the so-called tip of the spear for a lot of things, just not within combat theaters, but around the world, where national sensitive missions have to take place. And, of course, there's a lot of tools in the kit bag, so to speak. We were one of those significant tools, and we were fortunate enough to, support some very unique ground forces. And we work with them 365 days a year, so it's not like, a pickup game. So we've been working with those guys ever since our inception in 1981, and that's how the unit is designed to operate with these ground forces. And just having the pleasure to serve amongst tremendous heroes and warriors, I sort of pinch myself each and every day. Good days and bad days, obviously, but even the bad days were good days in retrospect.
Without divulging anything, when I asked that question, were there stories that come to mind that you can't tell, and we would never ask you to tell, but they're with you and they'll never not be with you?
Oh, absolutely.
That's fascinating to me.
So, I think everyone knows that, we were involved with the Bin Laden mission. And I will tell you that as significant as it was, there were other things going on in the world that very same night that we participated in. So it's not a one-hit show.
Yes, sir.
There were several other things going on that is how capable that unit is, and really the entire special operations community is. Unbelievable.
We're talking to John Thompson. He is a Warrior Alliance board member and director of risk management for Cox Enterprises. CoxEnterprises.com is the website, and of course the WarriorAlliance.org is the website for TWA. And as a member of the Warrior Alliance board, how can you compare your own transition challenges to the warriors that now you're helping navigate to that success after service?
Yeah, so I mentioned those gates that I think service members go through, whether it be early, mid, late career. I was obviously a late career guy that got out, has its own unique challenges, but regardless of your time in uniform, it is both a change in identity, which some would call it an identity crisis. I know I went through that, obviously having served 30 years, and all of a sudden, you're not part of that very integral team. That was significant. I thought getting shot at was stressful, but not being able to identify 24 hours out is pretty stressful. But the keys to success obviously are establishing a network, not necessarily like you did in the military. You have to go to where you're very uncomfortable. Talk to people that you probably wouldn't talk to, over the course of your military career. But that does nothing but help you expand your network by talking to people, 100 cups of coffees, several breakfasts at Waffle House,
Yes, sir.
a cocktail or two,
Yes, sir.
but you got to put yourself in uncomfortable positions to make yourself known.
But I'd say that's when we grow the most, is when we're uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Like when you're exercising, you're growing, right? It's uncomfortable, but you're growing. You're becoming bigger, faster, stronger. And like you're saying, with networking, get yourself into uncomfortable places, and you'll always grow more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I wonder if you were uncomfortable when you came into Cox Enterprises at first, and let's talk about that. I mean, you went from being a special ops helicopter commander to a corporate senior leader at Cox. Tell us about your role there at Cox, and also did any of that military service kind of translate and help you in that role?
Yeah. So I never had heard of Cox, but knew that we were going to stay here within the Atlanta area, and again, just like I was telling Tug, I just sort of threw myself out there. I was affiliated with a couple of very unique organizations that help guys from the special operations community transition into the C-suite world, so to speak. Not that I'm in the C-suite, but and they helped me tremendously get introduced to some very influential people. But then it was up to me to prove myself worthy of being hired. Cox Enterprises, a phenomenal company. Obviously we have the two divisions of automotive and communications, but we're branching off into so much more, into sustainable companies, like we had talked about before we came on the air as well. And that is different, and I do enjoy different. But to the essence of your question, it would have been very easy for me to stay within the defense industrial complex. I decided not to do that for some reason. Not that, I didn't like the military anymore. I just thought,
ready to do something different.
Ready to do something different. That's a different chapter in my life. Let's try something new, and if it works out, great. If not, I'll revert back to what I knew.
Yeah, but also I think veterans redirecting their training and that energy and the excellence that they have into the civilian world, it's another way of serving our country, don't you think?
It is. It absolutely is. And now that I've been with the company for 7.5 years, I see the amount of veterans that are hired within the company, guys and gals just as committed as I was when I was in uniform, and it's a great company.
So you're very active in the veteran community still. You haven't gone all civilian. You're also involved in a lot of I guess the ERG probably there at Cox, and you, of course, the Warrior Alliance. How would you rate our city, Atlanta, and also the state of Georgia in our efforts to serve veterans? How do we compare nationally?
Well, great question. I would, explain, or I would describe Atlanta as rife with capabilities, rife with just commitment, and you can find just about any job within Atlanta, and where there are good jobs, there are organizations that support those jobs on the periphery, and veterans are a huge part of that in Atlanta. There's so many VSOs around Atlanta. All are great.
What's that, a VSO?
Veteran Support Organization, okay. Veteran Service Organization, and all do great things. And yeah, you just got to sort of choose where your passion is, and which one of those fits your desires most.
Would you say that Cox Enterprises is committed to veteran success?
Very much so. Unlike other companies, I mean, we don't have a quota. We're a private company going on for the majority part of 126 years, which is significant. Fourth generation private company, and from the executive leadership on down, very much committed to the veteran cause and to the communities that the veterans support.
Now, being a board member with the Warrior Alliance, I think it's time we brag on the Warrior Alliance a little bit here. TWA was ranked by the Military Times best for vets employers for the second straight year this year, and the number one nonprofit in the nation and number 22 of all companies. What are the primary reasons you see contributing to the Warrior Alliance success, and why is it important for veterans and their families?
Sure. I think it's the business model that Scott has implemented, and what I've always explained to him is the muddy boots part of the operation, and that's the navigators. That's the connective tissue between the veterans and the numerous services that the Warrior Alliance provides. And it's just not a gap filler. It is a relationship we have with both the provider and the veteran. It's not one or two calls, it's probably 100 or 200 calls, which develops into an enduring relationship with that veteran to make sure that they're taken care of regardless of their needs during the transition phase.
It seems like the Warrior Alliance truly advocates for each veteran within the community.
They do, and the advocacy is there, but where the subject matter expertise isn't, they find it.
What message do you have to those veterans about the Warrior Alliance and why they should reach out?
So never not reach out to anyone during your transition. There's numerous entities out there, but what the Warrior Alliance provides is that, one-stop shop, if you will, to numerous services, whether it be legal, medical, health care, just anything that they would need, transportation. During their transition, the Warrior Alliance has been around long enough to where they are deeply embedded within that network of service providers around just not Atlanta. I think the state and soon to be regional and national that we could assist those veterans.
But even just as much, not more, but just as much, folks who have been out of the military for a long time, like myself, who've never accessed our VA benefits or any of our benefits. I've never done any of it. There's so many of me out there.
Absolutely. And, so if you got out before 9/11, you may not even know some of the benefits, so I've encouraged, many of veterans that, didn't see 1 second of combat. It's not necessary.
That's me, because I didn't.
Yeah. So, reach out to that veteran service organization, the Warrior Alliance, especially here in Atlanta, because of their level of connectivity throughout.
You're active in the community. You were a board member of the North Georgia Corps of Cadets Association, the Corps Advisory Council, and now, of course, a board member of the Warrior Alliance. What is it that pushes you? What motivates you? What drives you to be so involved?
Giving back, obviously, but preparing the next generation for what they will experience, not only as a officer or enlisted in the military, but also as a veteran transitioning out of the military into the civilian community. I mean, we all have an obligation to leave it better than we found it. And that's just every veteran's should be purpose as they get out and continue at, when they get out. So it's just giving back.
Absolutely, doing the right thing. And so many veterans, Scott, that's the desire of all of them, I believe, is to serve.
Well, you signed up to serve, and then you were finished with your time in the military, and then it doesn't mean that you continue or you don't continue your will to serve. So
right, it's inherent. It's part of you.
Yeah, and we really appreciate guys like you that do that, because it's so important that, we need all of our veterans to come home and become community leaders, don't we? And what about the future of the Warrior Alliance? What is top of mind for you as far as projects or places that you want the organization to go physically or metaphorically? What do you envision in the future as a board member?
Yeah. And I know Scott and the team are working on this, but we have to expand our reach. We have to get out of Atlanta. I know they're focused on that, but I wouldn't say we're in any breakneck hurry to do that. We want to do it deliberately, and we want to do it right. And we don't want to sacrifice the care of our veterans, along the way. So, but I think we're well on our way to do that, to get outside the metro area, state, regional, and national.
Well,
and who knows, we could have satellite offices one day.
That sounds great. I mean, we need a Warrior Alliance office in every major city, and also a lot of the rural centers as well.
Absolutely.
I think, And I know that the radio airwaves and podcasts can go anywhere. So we hope here at the Warrior Alliance Network that Tug and I can help you with that mission. So
that'd be great.
We're all learning every day, and I saw on your LinkedIn that you recently met with some junior ROTC, I guess, cadets or members, and also you met with a Mr. L.C. Goodman, who's a World War II veteran who's coming up on his 100th birthday. That's amazing. What did you learn? Can you share anything with our audience that you learned from both those ROTC guys, but also from that 100-year-old World War II veteran?
So anytime anyone has an opportunity to sit next to or talk to a World War II veteran, you should take advantage of it, regardless of their condition or whatever, because you're in the presence of national royalty in my mind. They are truly the greatest generation. I don't think any one of us would be enjoying the luxuries that we have today without that generation doing what they did for not just this country, but the free world. So I had the opportunity to speak to my niece's middle school. She's a teacher there in Noonan, Georgia, and got to experience some 11 through 13-year-olds that I reminded them 4 or 5 years from now, you'll be having to make decisions, whether it be college, whether it be through young adulthood, whether it be your first occupation, that are going to be significant. It would be awesome if through those thoughts you would consider serving others as you went through those phases of your life. I spoke with American Legion Post 516 in McDonough, and that's where I met Mr. Goodman. And again, just sitting next to him, I felt like I was in the presence of royalty, because he was just as clear-minded. He was just as agile as I was. And to hear him speak of his experiences in World War II, it was just awe-inspiring.
I tell you, I remember those conversations sitting on my grandpa's lap. He was an Army medic stationed aboard USS Hope in the South Pacific, and I remember those stories vividly. I just wish there was a way to go back and record some of those. Those are the things that I feel like that would make this world a better place, just like you're talking about with the gentleman that you sat with. If we could record those stories and pass them on, because they're so valuable.
They are. And there's an initiative, and I'm going to probably mess this up, but it's through the it's not the Library of Congress, but it's through the Atlanta Library as well. It's the oral history that so if you know a veteran, and I have the information, I'll definitely get it out to you, and I'd appreciate it if you
we'll
put
post
it
and share it and connect it to this
but
podcast.
All veterans need to do this oral history, and it captures it, it locks it in forever, where future generations. I mean, we've had Rosie the Riveters show up and give just phenomenal accounts about their experiences during World War II.
That's incredible. Gosh, yeah, I think that's terrific. As we close out here, tell us about your family, and then what keeps you busy, man? What do you like to do when you're not committed to doing everything that you're lined up to do?
If you have any spare time.
Exactly.
I do. So wonderful family. And like I said, I wouldn't be here today without them. So a wife of 37 plus years. We live up just south of Canton, between Alpharetta and Canton. My son is a captain promotable in the Army right now. He, too, is a Special Operations Aviator. And my daughter is up in Harrisburg, PA, married to two phenomenal people. My daughter-in-law is a nurse, and my son-in-law is a pastor. So I think I got my bases covered as far as when I get really old, of having a nurse take care of me and a pastor take care of me as well.
And some grandkids to keep you young, too,
grandkids,
right?
two boys from my son and two girls from my girl. So, yeah.
Any time to have fun? Any time to just cut loose?
Absolutely. Love duck hunting.
Okay.
Love hunting in general. Love to train dogs. Just got a GSP about a year ago. First experience in training upland type bird hunting, but having fun at it. But my family members who are in dog hunting, and they say, 90% of the hunting comes from the trainer and not the trainee, because the dog knows how to do it. It's just that, and the trainer is probably the most dumb one. So.
No doubt about it. Thank you so much for your time, John. Appreciate all the work you do. Appreciate your service to our country.
Yes,
and
sir.
I hope it won't be the last time we get to see you.
Likewise.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
God bless you.